Prologue. The price tag with a flag on it. If you think a tariff is something China pays us for misbehaving, then we need to have a talk. A calm talk, a friendly talk, a talk involving a bit of arithmetic, because somewhere along the way, we as a people developed the charming belief that when Congress places a tariff on imported goods, foreign governments gather in smoky rooms, pass a hat around, and mail us a check with a little note attached to it that says, "Oh, we're sorry about everything," but that is not actually how any of this works. A tariff is not a fine levied against a misbehaving nation. It is not a diplomatic parking ticket. It is not a patriotic surcharge paid by foreigners as some sort of penance. It is, strictly speaking, a tax. Specifically, it is a tax imposed by the United States government on goods entering the United States. If you're wondering who writes the check, the answer is the importer does. The American company that brings the goods through the port. The man standing at the dock, not the man standing in Beijing. The law determines who writes the check, but the market determines who feels the bruise. Now, before anyone starts polishing their pitchforks or fainting into a chaise lounge, let me be clear. Tariffs are not inherently wicked. They are not inherently virtuous. They are tools. Blunt tools. Tools that can raise revenue. Tools that can protect domestic industries. Tools that can distort markets. Tools that can change behavior. But tools nonetheless. And like most other types of tools, they can be prudentially and responsibly used, or they can be used recklessly and destructively, depending on whose hands happen to be holding them at any given moment. And before we argue about whether to swing the hammer, we might want to first start by understanding what a hammer is. Because for roughly about 60% of our national history, tariffs were not some exotic economic side dish. They were the entree. They were how the federal government kept its lights on. For most of American history, the federal government was essentially a customs house with its own navy. There was no income tax, there was no IRS, there was no annual ritual of self-loathing in April each year. There were just ships, ledgers, and dockside receipts. If that surprises you, good. That means we are already learning something.